Next, we head a few miles north to the town of Many, Louisiana. They could have been the home to the 4L Company, but town leaders back then decided over 100 years ago they did not want all that noise and commotion. That may be easier to understand once you discover Many, Louisiana once was neighbor to the largest military base in the United States. Beauty and brawn surrounds the town of Many, Louisiana. It is a quiet community that is just a stone's throw away from the tranquil shores of Toledo Bend. And a former military fortress helped shape this area as well. Meet Mayor Ken Freeman. He's been mayor of Many for 20 years, and he tells me this area was first known as Baldwin's Store. A marker commemorates the town's early origins.
In 1843, the center of the parish was a place called Baldwin's Store, just a large dog track log cabin. And at that time, it was where everyone gathered. It's where courts were held. The traveling ministers would come there. It was a post office, it was a courthouse, it was a jailhouse, it was everything that a governmental building should be, but on a much simpler scale.
But as the United States expanded in the early 1800s, this area grew as well. Mayor Freeman remembers coming here as a child and caught a glimmer of Many's past. Mayor, this is a beautiful church. It almost looks like the Alamo.
When I was 8 years old, coming down San Antonio Avenue, it's one of the first things that I remember about this community was this old church. And I remember thinking, man, we are going back in pioneer days. I expected people to ride horses and have guns, holsters, and that sort of thing. But it's been, I found out that that was not the case, which was fine. Well, Many burned to the ground in around 1904. And all of the buildings you see along here are original to 1904. We have the old Sabine Theater behind us. The very first two-story brick building in Sabine Parish is right behind us. About 25 years ago, a developer bought this whole block and renovated it into storefronts, and now they're being used by stores, and it retains the original flavor of the original town, which we're very proud of.
So, how did Many get its name? The town was named after Colonel James B. Many, who was reported to have been a very popular commander at a nearby military fort, protecting the area against Spanish threats from what is now Texas. 6 miles east of the town of Many is this site, the Fort Jesup State Historical Site. Colonel James B. Many was the commander here, and it was built in 1922. And at the time, this was the largest military base of the United States. In fact, half of the U.S. Army traveled through Fort Jesup en route to the war with Mexico in 1845. Following a United States victory, the fort was no longer needed as a border outpost and was abandoned 1 year later. Fort Jesup is now a National Historic Landmark, complete with a museum and a modest amount of artifacts. Dana Jeter is the park manager.
These are remnants of old officers' quarter buildings. The rock and the limestone, the lime was brought in from the hillside in order to construct the foundation of the buildings. We had a row of about 6 to 8 officers' quarters in this vicinity, and behind each officers' quarters was the kitchen that the soldiers had their meals in and socialized. This is the actual oldest building, the only building that we have left on site from that particular time period. This is the old kitchen in which all the soldiers would come in and have their meals each day, whether it be for breakfast or for the evening dinner.
Fort Jesup was saved thanks to the dedication of so many from Many. On a spring day in 1960, Fort Jesup State Park held a grand reopening. One of those responsible for its restoration was longtime Many resident and daughter of the American Revolution member, Catherine Vines Davis.
Colonel Many gave it a little bit of culture and class. He had everyone to dress in uniforms early and have a parade at 8:30 in the morning with top hats or cocked hats and so forth, and a band. The band played, and it was a cultural place.
Ms. Davis knows a little something about Southern culture. Her family goes all the way back to the first days of Manny. Catherine is known to speak her mind, and she lives in the same house she was born in. Her home is adorned with artwork. It includes one piece from Louisiana artist laureate Amos Lee Armstrong. This is called The Road to Manny. But the most cherished works were painted by her mother, Gussie. Gussie painted everyone in the family: Catherine's husband, her sister Betty Lynn, even her grandfather William. And oh yes, Gussie painted Catherine, and it is dazzling.
Well, I think this was it. The dress that I had was used at the Alpha Delta Pi sorority at LSU in Baton Rouge. We had parties and little receptions and such as that. Well, I bought the dress in Baton Rouge at, I can't think of the name of the store now. It wasn't Dalton's. Rosenfields, I believe was the name of it, and so forth. I bought the dress there, and it was flattering, shall we say, and so she painted it in that dress.
And it's a safe bet to say her great-great-grandfather probably knew Colonel Manny. One day she would like to donate her home to a new chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution and name it the Colonel James B. Manny Chapter. It's all part of the Southern culture that still surrounds her to this very day.
These days, how do you spend your days?
Watching PBS every night. Yeah. I watch the television. The young people are very kind to me. They kind of look at me like she's something special. There aren't many people around here that remember things like that and so forth.
Mayor Ken Freeman agrees. He thinks the world of Catherine and of Manny. He also keeps one eye to the future and hopes Sabine Parish could be the next big retirement community in the country.
We're also trying to develop Manny and Sabine Parish and Toledo Bend as a destination point for retirees. Retirees are looking for a less congested area other than Florida, and we are central to the country. It's beautiful out there. Property prices are reasonable. They have all the amenities of a large town, but still enjoy the small town security and friendliness that they would like to look for. It's a good place to raise a family. It's a good place to build a life.
Manny and Fisher are just two of many quaint and historic spots in the Toledo Bend area that offers visitors so many wonderful options. For more information on these and other towns near Toledo Bend, go online at www.toledo-bend.com.